Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, crystal clear. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. That's good. That's a good way to start. Well, as you have introduced me, thank you very much. I have some slides to show if I'm permitted to do so, right? Okay, I can see. Cool.
Yes, you're permitted to go ahead with that, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's make it a presentation. As was rightly introduced, we're going to talk about cybersecurity in the supply chain. And there's no need to go through this slide again because you already know my name. I prefer consult and the contact details if you want to get in touch with us. So these are the things I want to cover today. I won't take much of your time. Don't be scared by the content, that by looks. Some of them you already know. So it's just to make sure we start on a good note. So I'll talk about introduction to cybersecurity, just a brief one, and what is modern supply chain, as well as what is the current landscape. And then we'll move on to what are the kind of threats that are beguiling the supply chain industry, and how cybersecurity can help in reducing the impact. Because in risk management, we cannot totally eliminate risk. We can only mitigate or reduce it, if you like. So we'll talk about the future trends and what are the technologies that are helping or that will really help for you to have an efficient supply chain. So that's just me. In case you want to know about me, I hold 2 masters, one in drilling and well engineering. That's where I met Daniel. We're hallmates, if you permit me to say that. And then I have masters in information technology as well as other certifications. The one I want to highlight the most is the gold passport within cybersecurity, which is a CISSP. So, and as well as cloud certificates that I have, including SAP as well. And most importantly, I don't want to leave that without talking about ISO 27001, which is information security management systems that we use to meet standard requirements. So in Preferred Consult, we also do consultancy work. We train people, and then we mentor people as well that are coming into the industry. So without any further ado, what is cybersecurity? What we do there, we protect computers, servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, vector devices, and data from malicious attacks. And sometimes you can see people talking about information security, cybersecurity, they're all the same. But the only difference is that when you say the word cyber means you're talking about the equipment that we're using. When you say information, it's the information you're storing on these devices that we're talking about. But what is germane to us? We talk about CIA. And the CIA is not the Central Intelligence Agency. As you can see on the screen, it's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality, what I've kept with you, is between you and I. And integrity, if I keep it with you anytime I come for it, it doesn't change. My apple does not become orange. If I give you $1, it doesn't become something lesser or snowball into something higher. So questions will be asked. Availability, anytime I need this, I have access to it without any excuse. Then let's look at what Nino Covin said. Because cyber has become something germane, critical to every organization that you cannot look away from. It has become critical to the fabric of any modern business. Because as breach after breach hits the headlines, it's now become clear to everyone that organizations need more professionals focused on cybersecurity. So wherever you are today, I don't know, but it is important to take cybersecurity serious. So in supply chain, at CIPS, when I was doing my research, we define supply chain as the activities required to deliver goods or services to the consumer. But in cybersecurity, what do we know supply chain as? Is we talk about protecting the entire network of interconnected businesses and making sure that these businesses and technologies are secured the correct way and they are able to deliver the products as needed and protected from cyber attacks or threats, if you like. Then, modern supply chain, you talk about many technologies, you talk about cloud, you talk about how easily accessible the data is, and then the architecture in which you use in developing the software, because there are many software vendors. As you know, in the supply chain, You have collaborating tools that you can use for many reasons. But at the bottom there, this is traditional understanding of supply chain. You talk about the raw materials moving to the suppliers that will give it to the manufacturer to turn it into the finished product that distributor will now take to the retailer. From the retailer, then the consumer will be able to purchase what the finished product looks like. But it is more than that. Hence why we said in cybersecurity, it talks about the connection between all these, the suppliers who are supplying to the manufacturers, the distributors, how they know, how they will understand what is my stock level, when do I need to go back to the manufacturer to get more, the retailer, when will they go to the distributor and get information about the product, because the customers, the consumers, they are knocking on their doors. So the technology behind this, that is where the cybersecurity comes into play. And anything that involves technology, that will lead to many other things in terms of attacks that organization will be exposed to. So as of 2023, in supply chain, the attack levels has really increased compared to what has been happening from the year 2017. So in 2023 alone, there were 2,769 attacks in supply chain. This is based on information from the United States. And this is from statista.com, and as I've given the reference to where this information is gotten from. So we are seeing increase in supply chain attack. As I'm going to show you later, you must have heard about the Colonial Pipeline and other attacks that has happened within the industry. Well, let's go and understand what are the types of attacks that we experience when it comes to supply chain. We talk about phishing, that is attempts to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information. We have ransomware attack. I call these, people that, they hijack planes sometimes, or people that will say they will take over your business, your organization, and they ask for ransom for you to be able to have access to your information because they encrypt your information. And once they encrypt your information, it becomes gibberish. And once it becomes gibberish, you cannot read information again. So they have to give you the key to have access to your information. So ransomware attack is something very popular these days. We heard about Colonial Pipeline, we heard about Maersk and other attacks such as SolarWinds as well. So, but very important for us to understand is insider threat is the one that is most worrisome for us in cybersecurity, because employees or contractors with access to sensitive systems, we may misuse this access intentionally or unintentionally, because some employees within the organization, they have one thing or the other against the organization. They will just take the data, put it on the internet and sell. And that's giving key to the domain, to the organization. All right. So malware is there too. That is malicious software. And that is how the attack starts. What would they do? They will talk to you in such a way by email that will make you convinced that what they're asking for, they are the right people to ask for that information, and that will lead to data leakage and many other things that will happen. All right. So what is the impact of these I just mentioned? In terms of revenue losses, you see that 29% of revenue generated are lost to cyber attack, and 80% of costs are related to PII compromise. And lastly, like I mentioned, human beings are the most difficult to manage. So 95% of cyber attacks in supply chain are related to what? Human error, which you can also tie to insider threats. So cyber criminals, they target supply chains due to their expansive networks and access to valuable data. And I'll tell you one of the reasons is because of cloud. Cloud is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's one of the quality of using cloud. And you have third parties that you have not vetted correctly. They come into your organization, they have access, they have key to the kingdom, they do whatever they like. And that is the case of SolarWinds, because it was a third-party application that we were using, and that led to exposure of data, even government data, to these attackers or the activists, or you like whatever name you can call them. So what are these impacts that we get as a result of this? You have financial impact. Companies often face direct costs related to ransom payment. Colonial Pipeline, they were about to pay money until FBI stepped into it and was able to get or retrieve substantial amount of the money they have paid via cryptocurrency. Operational disruptions. you'll not be able to deliver your product like we have said in the cartoon that I showed you earlier, how the raw material is moving to the supplier, to the manufacturer, and like that. So they'll disrupt that supply chain, and they'll not be able to deliver your product as you have planned. Okay, you have reputational damage. Your customer, they lose trust in you. They can no longer trust you because you have been exposed to breach. TravelX is one of them. If you read about TravelX, this is where we go to. You get BTA. You can get money to travel abroad, convert your currency. So they were attacked. And legal and regulatory cost. Governments would find any organization that is subject of an attack because they will ask you they will investigate various questions they will ask you, and they will decide whether you actually gave the environment that made it possible for the attackers to take over your customers' information. So long-term security investment, because once you have been attacked, they have information about they got into your organization, and that would lead to you having to up your game and have to increase your access or your interest in cybersecurity within your organization. That would include your infrastructure, training your employees, and developing more robust security policies to prevent further attacks. So like I've mentioned earlier, Colonial Pipeline, it was 2021. Colonial Pipeline, they supply crude oil and finished products to some aspect of US, and this was disrupted. The fuel supply was disrupted in the eastern United States, leading to panic buying and fuel shortage. So they paid approximately 4.4 million, and some of it was recovered by the FBI for them. SolarWinds that I mentioned to you before, they had an attack. Hackers gained access to sensitive systems and data, potentially leading to long-term security. So they paid, or they lost, we should say, not paid now, let's say they lost approximately $18 million. So not here, this one resonates with everybody. NHS in UK was affected in this one. Maersk was affected, every one of us know Maersk. They're into shipping, moving products all over the world. And that was a big one. And you can see the cost, approximately 10 billion. So Maersk alone was approximately 300 million, and FedEx about 400 million, and a host of others. Target data breach, which is 2013, hackers gained access to Target system through a third-party HVAC. This third party managed this, and then they were able to get into the organization. So they lost about 202 million in settlement and remediation effort. Legal fees and upgrades were estimated to exceed $300 million. So what can we do in cybersecurity to help in this supply chain exposure to these hackers or advanced persistent threat? We call that APT. So there was a time in the US when Obama was the president, some of the patents of US military was copied from their manufacturers. So the Chinese made F-1, those fighter jets, copycat of what US had. And that was how Obama, during his time, they have to come up with NIST 800-171, which is for controlled unclassified information. Those are the companies working for their military bases that they have to meet before they can work for them. So we have NIST 171 that we can use to help those of us within the supply chain industry, to help them to ensure that the controls that are required are in place and they are effectively working. So we have ISO 27001, which I'm a lead implementer as well. This one, we said information security management systems, contains a lot of controls, including human, which you need to have in place for you to have a robust system. And then blockchain, because blockchain brings a lot of transparency into how we do our transactions, which we do for Bitcoin and the likes. Transparency is what they bring. So whatever happens, you can see, and then as well as you can manage your ledger and understand what is happening within your organization. And then we have artificial intelligence, which enables you to monitor your system, because garbage in, garbage out. If you use AI, you can get the threat on a real-time basis, know what is happening within your organization without wasting a lot of time. Because before now, you need a lot of human beings to be able to achieve this. But these days with AI, we can cover all these loopholes that or comes from as a result of lack of focus from the human being. So the one that is important, without this one auditing, you cannot say you have NIST 171, you have a 27,001, you're using blockchain and AI without you auditing. So you need to make sure you follow the laws, the standards, the regulatory requirement, your data is clean, and you continue to do research and follow the process as you were, and there's a transparency so that you know what is happening within your organization. This is key to making sure everything works accordingly. So what do we need to do as supply chain experts when you talk about cybersecurity? The first thing in terms of best practice we need to do is vendor and third-party risk management. You need to understand your vendors. What have they done about cybersecurity? What standard are they meeting? Are they meeting ISO 27001? Have they done pen testing? How often do they audit their system? They need to show you evidence of this. Employee training. You need to continuously train your employees to understand what are the type of attacks that supply chain face. If you understand the type of attacks, you can train them on how to avoid them. Incident response plans. In case it happens by adventure that your organization becomes a victim of an attack, how do you respond to that? What are your hot sites? What are your warm sites? What are your cold sites? How do you move from your current place of operation to a temporary location that you can work effectively? And these are the reasons why you can see Amazon and other companies that are into supply chain. You wonder how Amazon are able to deliver their product because they have a robust supply chain. And they have most of the tools that they need to use, which is cloud, to make sure they can deliver correctly. And this is why I mentioned monitoring your system. It is very important. It is key to understand how your system is behaving and be able to act accordingly whenever there is a problem that is being noticed. Recovery and mitigation strategies. If your system is attacked, you isolate that system. After isolating it, you do forensic analysis to understand how they got into the organization and what you need to do next time to prevent such an attack of getting into your organization. And then these are the recovery strategies. We do tabletop exercises to understand how the system should work in terms of ransomware attack. There is a script kiddie, activism, there is a protest, and all this will be covered in our incident response. So it will be practicalized in our recovery and mitigation strategies to know the number of staff that you need to make sure your system is protected against such an unwanted event. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, okay, we've been mentioning all this. How do we get ourselves prepared for this kind of scenarios? You need to use Internet of Things technology because it has its own positive impact. So real-time tracking and monitoring of your product, your systems, your goods in transit and all that. It also helps you to enhance operational efficiency because if I've automated the processes through IoT, you can see in real time how your operation is progressing, and you can reduce manual errors and optimize your resource usages. And you can predict how your production train and supply chain is working, and then you can schedule your plan in terms of, okay, at this period we have low requests, then we can maintain our system at this certain period. But the negative impact is that you have increased attack surface because IoT's example, they are like mini devices, your mobile phones, or you have sensors on your systems because they are everywhere. So you have increased your attack surface. Each one of them could be a means of getting to your organization, but we have a way through monitoring I mentioned before, using blockchain and all that, you can prevent that. Data privacy, if you follow GDPR, you follow all the requirements and all that, you're on top of it, you can minimize data privacy concerns. Then device security issues. If you update your devices at all times, take for instance, a TV is an IoT as an example. Your mobile phone is an IoT as an example. Your phone will tell you it's time for you to upgrade or update your software. These are the things we need to do. We must not lose focus. So IoT, as long as it's good for us, it also has its negative impact, but we can also increase how we manage them. Blockchain, I won't take a lot of time here, is just to give us transparency and traceability. If anything happens, you can trace it easily because they are immutable. You have immutable ledger. What you have in one company is what you have on the other side. So there's no need for somebody to say, I didn't do that. Data integrity, because they have a unified ledger, your data remains the same. It doesn't change. Trust and collaboration, you know, if Mr. A has this number of products, it is the same thing that you have on your side. They'll be reflecting, and then there will be no delay in terms of your stock level. So complexity is a challenge with blockchain. Not everybody has understanding of how it works, and the scalability is, you can scale it easily far and wide. So you need a lot of people with knowledge to be able to manage this. Security risk, you have to make sure you understand what kind of risks you are exposed in your organization to, so that you can reduce your vulnerability. So interact regularly with your colleagues and understand what kind of vulnerabilities they're exposed to, and upgrade your system regularly will minimize this. Regulatory and compliance issues. Your location that you're operating from, you must comply with our regulatory requirement. If you're in EU, you have to comply with EU GDPR. If it's Nigeria, the Nigeria data privacy. Anywhere you go, if you're in Chicago, COPA, and the likes of other regulatory requirements must be complied with. Okay, then artificial intelligence, I mentioned this before, threat detection, response, because of the effectiveness of using AI, the coverage of it on the internet, you can analyze the amount of data to detect anomalies easily. And you can optimize your supply chain management, because AI can optimize supply chain processes. It can make sure help you in terms of demand forecasting and inventory management, reducing inefficiencies and vulnerabilities. It can enhance decision making. It can provide actionable insights where you can say, okay, yes, I agree with what you have said, and click yes, and it will alert every other parties that are involved. What is it with artificial intelligence? Biases and errors. Giggle, the word giggle, garbage in, garbage out, still holds sway. If you don't manage it very well, to take controls of your system, and they can send incorrect decisions. Again, sophisticated cyber attacks. AI technology that you said you use, the capability of our attackers has also been improved because they use AI as well. So you have to up your game, you have to be on top of it, you have to train your staff, they must understand what are the risks that may result from this. Then cloud computing, this is where everything works. Cloud, it gives user scalability. We talk about broad, it is broad, and then reach is very clear, operability, and then minimization of what you can use, and you pay for what you have used for, and all that. At cost efficiency. So whatever that you use, it is what you pay for. That is the advantage of this. And then the other one is the negative impact, because data security is another one that you need to be on top of your game when you're using cloud. If you are not knowledgeable enough, I'll give you an example. Your data, you can say you are in Nigeria, but your data is stored in America, or your data could be stored in China. So this is where you need to be exactly sure of where your cloud provider is storing your data. Because the same attackers that we are trying to prevent, they use cloud as well, under another name, under a disguise. So you must make sure that you are using the right cloud service provider. Then compliance challenges. Where your data is stored is important too as well, so that you don't flout regulatory requirement for your client or your service provider, or vis-a-vis, depending on which level the cat swings to. Reliability and downtime. Depending on cloud service providers, you have to put into cognizance outages and service disruption, which can have significant impact on supply chain operation. You need to understand who is your cloud provider, what is their reliability level in terms of service provided to you at all times. So 5G technology, this is not all, it has not cut across the whole world, but everywhere you can see they are improving on the infrastructure. What does it do for us? It enhances connectivity. So there will be no breakdown in terms of connectivity. You can see what is happening at all times. Then IoT integration, it makes it easier for you. Low latency. There is no delay in terms of communication at all. There's no break in communication. But what is the impact? Vulnerability again, because you are using tools, you are using equipment. You need to increase their availability and then update their software so that they can sync and work correctly. Implementation cost. It costs a lot. And if it costs a lot, you need to make sure you have the financial wherewithal to purchase what is required to make sure you do what is right for you. Data overload. because of the way in which this technology works, you have a lot of data. How do you consume it? How do you get insight from it? What do you make use of this data with? And how do you communicate it to the right party? Now depends on your know-how. So a lot has to do with technology and the people that will be operating that technology itself. So in conclusion, there's call to action. If you are supply chainist or supply chain expert that I'm speaking to here, you need to take proactive steps to strengthen your supply chain's cybersecurity. It could be investing in technology, improving vendor management, or enhancing employee training. But how do you engage them? You continuously make sure you are vigilant and adopting a new technology that will give you insight into threats and challenges. Because without that, you don't have opportunity to preventing cyber attacks. Because technology, as we say in cybersecurity, everything is PPT, people, process, and technology. Without this, you cannot deliver the service that are required. So on that note, I want to thank you for listening, and I'll await questions related to the presentation. Thank you very much.